Hello, and welcome to this lesson of our C Programming Foundations tutorial series. I'm Reza, and I'm happy to have you join me on this journey to mastering the C programming language. Okay, let's move on to the while loop as a repetition statement in C. Alright, let's talk about the while loop in C programming. Think of it like a repeat button on your playlist that keeps playing the same set of songs as long as you want it to. The while loop works in a similar way. It keeps running a bunch of code over and over again, as long as a certain condition stays true. So here's the lowdown on how it works. 1. At the start of each round of the loop, the while loop checks a condition. This could be anything like, is the number less than 10, or is the user still clicking the button? If the answer is yes, the loop goes ahead and does its thing, running all the code inside it. 2. Inside this loop, you've got what's called the loop body. It's wrapped up in curly braces, and it's where all the action happens. Whatever code you put in here, that's what keeps repeating as long as your condition stays true. So basically, the while loop is like, hey, as long as this condition is true, I'm going to keep doing these things you've told me to do. It's super handy for when you need to repeat stuff in your program until a certain point is reached. Alright, so what we've got here is a nifty little C program that's all about adding up numbers from 0 to 10. 1. It kicks off by setting up two things: a number starting at 0, which is our starting point, and a sum also at 0, where we'll be keeping track of our total. 2. Then it dives into this loop where it keeps adding the current number to our total sum. It's like counting on your fingers, adding each finger to your total count one by one. Each time it adds a number, it moves on to the next one by adding 1 to our number. This keeps going until our number hits 11, and that's when the loop says, okay, we're done here. 3. After it's all said and done, the program shows us the grand total, which is the sum of all numbers from 0 to 10. It's a neat, simple way to demonstrate how loops work in C, just adding numbers together and keeping track as you go along. Okay, so here's what this C program is all about. It's like a temperature converter that turns Celsius degrees into Fahrenheit. It starts at minus 20 degrees Celsius, which is pretty chilly, and goes all the way up to a warm 40 degrees, increasing the temperature by 5 degrees each step. It uses a while loop, which is like a repeating cycle to go through each temperature from minus 20 to 40. Inside this loop, the program takes the current Celsius temperature, does the math to convert it to Fahrenheit using the formula, and then prints out both the Celsius and Fahrenheit temperatures so you can compare them. After printing each pair of temperatures, it bumps up the Celsius by 5 degrees and goes for another round, doing this over and over until it hits 40 degrees Celsius. So essentially, it's creating this neat little table showing temperatures in both Celsius and Fahrenheit, step by step. Alright, so in C programming there's this thing called a do-while loop, and it's a pretty cool way to run a chunk of code at least once and then keep running it as long as a certain condition is true. Imagine it like telling someone, hey, do this thing at least once, but keep doing it if this other thing is still happening. So the basic idea is this. The do-while loop starts off with the do part where it runs all the code inside once, no matter what. It's like saying, I'm gonna do this no matter what, at least one time. Then, after it's done this thing once, it checks a condition that's at the end of the loop in the while part. This condition is like a question that can be either yes, true, or no, false. If the answer is yes, true, the loop goes back and does everything in the do part all over again. But if the answer is no, false, then it's like, alright, we're done here, and the loop stops running. The cool part about do-while loops is that they guarantee the code inside them runs at least once, which can be super handy in certain situations. Alright, so here's what this C program does. It's like a calculator that keeps adding up numbers you give it. When you run the program, it starts by asking you to enter any number. Whatever number you type in, it adds that number to a running total. Then it asks you again for another number, and it keeps doing this over and over. The cool part, it doesn't stop asking for numbers until you tell it to, by entering a 0. As soon as you hit 0, the program goes, okay, that's enough, and it shows you the total of all the numbers you entered up until that point. So, essentially, it's a simple adding machine that keeps track of all the numbers you enter and gives you the sum whenever you're ready to stop by entering 0. Here is a code challenge for you to get more practice, an even number counter.